So I spent the last 4 surf sessions focusing solely on what Devon Howard taught me when I was in California recently.
But what I've observed from you today and yesterday is you have an addiction to nose riding. Just sort of relax and let yourself feel the pocket.
I've condensed every revelation I've had into 3 tips that you have to try because I feel like a new man. You'll see that in a second. And it didn't take any particular skill on my part. I also used the Greeno 4A for all 4 sessions. And I have kind of an exciting announcement to make at the end of this video, and it's got something to do with this fin. Now I want you to watch these 2 waves of mine. One's from session 1, one is from session 4, and I want you to try to think to yourself which one would win in a traditional nose ride competition. I think that you'd have to say, although ugly, wave number 2 would have to win. First of all, I squeezed out a nose ride. It wasn't very long, but still counts. Followed by a fairly ugly cutback, horrible balance, and a finish. Not a great finish, but a finish. Which wave was more fun? Number 1 by far. I mean, first of all, who is this person? This is not me. Relaxed takeoff, didn't ruin the wave by rushing to the nose here. Gained speed by feeling the pocket and beating the closeout section. And this first turn, yes, I dug the rail a bit, which threw me off balance, but look at the relaxed recovery. Followed by a buttery smooth cutback. Tip number 1, start the wave relaxed and you will finish the wave relaxed. I went into session number 1 with the sole purpose of striking a relaxed pose at the start of the wave, as seen here. Making that mental and physical decision to relax early on the wave typically made me relax for the rest of the wave. When your body is loose and you're feeling the pocket of the wave, you kind of get an awareness of your surroundings that's a little bit hard to explain. But take this wave, for example, super loose the whole way and perform one of the smoothest, most in control cutbacks of my life. There was just an awareness that made the turn so easy. This also translates very well to nose riding. The waves weren't totally cooperating during session number 2, but I caught this little nugget that was fairly eye-opening. I take off, I strike that relaxed pose. Up ahead, I see that peak forming, that walled up section, and I decide I want to hit that section when I'm on the nose, and I did it. Now you may argue that my arms were flailing and I wasn't in control, but that is the furthest thing from the truth in this case. My body was loose, which makes it act like a shock absorber, and it miraculously kept me on my feet. I even held during this pretty intense drop and lock. If I was stiff during that period, there's no chance I would have stayed on my board. No chance. Again, this is kind of hard to explain. It's hard to get across in a video. You really have to go experience this for yourself. Highly recommended. Now for tip number 2, we're gonna rewind a little bit back to my California trip. Watch these few waves from Devon Howard, and I want you to try to think to yourself, where do you think Devon Howard's home base is on the board? guessed the middle, you'd be correct. He seems to often be on the middle of his board, whether he is in between maneuvers or he's just trying to cruise a little bit to feel the pocket. Now, I'm not saying that we should all be copying Devon Howard. I think we should all try to find our own style, but as an exercise, copying Devon is what I've been doing, and it has been working out swimmingly. So tip number 2, you have to learn to love the middle of your board. During these 4 sessions, I spent a ton of time on the middle of my board. There were many times I was tempted to go all the way to the nose, but the setup wasn't perfect, or the wave wasn't setting up for it, so I took a couple steps back and did a cutback. Occasionally the wave set up well, and I went for the nose ride. And just look how smooth these nose rides were compared to maybe some of my usual nonsense. I mentioned that awareness you get by staying loose. Well, times that by 2 if you're staying loose and relaxed and you're in the middle of your board feeling the pocket. When you do all that, you just get a sense of the wave. You feel the wave, and everything else works out better. Your cross steps, your cutbacks, and your nose rides, because you have such a good feel for the wave. Again, hard to explain. You gotta just go do it.
Seagull, seagull, fly, fly, please.
Now, obviously, when it comes to surfing, there is more to it than just staying loose and relaxed. I've worked quite hard on the technical aspect of my surfing over the last few years. So when I do relax, stay loose, and feel the pocket, it tends to work out very well. I have a bit of a solid foundation under my feet. So it does take a little bit of both, a little bit of technical, a little bit of staying loose and relaxed, as backed up by Devon when I interviewed him.
The technical stuff is really helpful in the beginning, especially when you're new to it. You have to have the practice and you've got to have the technical stuff first. Once you've done that, it's better if you can let go and not be thinking too much.
Interesting.
Because if you overthink your surfing, then it becomes mechanical and robotic. Especially longboard surfing, it's more dancing.
Yeah.
Imagine dancing with your wife and you guys are just thinking about your steps the whole time.
Oh, yeah, it looks
How
terrible.
lame would that be?
We've done it.
And I mean, when you're learning, let's say you're taking ballroom dancing, you're going to learn the stuff.
Yep.
But after a while, you shouldn't have to count the steps. It should just start happening and allow yourself to get there. And like that's when you know you've kind of gone to that next level, and it's like it's just such a cathartic, just a nice feeling. And then surfing becomes this inextricable part of your life where you can't live without it because it is such a release for you.
Like many surfers, I jumped the gun with so many maneuvers. I was obsessed with nose riding, still am. That I would often just force my way to the nose. And yes, maybe I got the nose ride, but it was ugly and I wasn't learning much, when in hindsight, I should have spent a lot more time working on the technical aspect of cross-stepping, learning how to set up my board for the nose ride properly, and ultimately, I should have slowed down. Tip number 3 is actually a Navy SEAL mantra that applies so well to surfing. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. I always wanted to be a really quick and agile and fast cross-stepper, but you don't get to that point without first slowing down and mastering the basics. I've already seen my surfing progression improve dramatically now that I've slowed things down, and ultimately, that's gonna make me fast. I've also seen the major benefit to practicing with a fin like the Foray. All other fins have their place, of course, but the Foray is so nice and flowy and loose, and it doesn't allow you to cheat on the nose rides. It's not quite as stable on cross-stepping and nose riding as other fins, and I actually think that's a good thing when you're learning. I've always dreamt of owning a Foray that had all those characteristics, but was slightly more stable. So I've decided to manufacture my own fin. Me, Ben Considine, and Tommy Potterton from 10 Toe Surf, we've actually spent the last 2 years working together on a very large project. I can't say too much about it just yet, but it includes manufacturing fins as well as many other things. Basically, if you're someone interested in improving at longboarding, it's gonna be right up your alley. If you wanna be notified about updates on this project, when it's gonna be released, things like that, hit that link in the description to get on the mailing list. Thank you to everyone who follows this channel and who's stuck around, and I'll see everyone on the next one. Adios. Typically made me relaxed for the west of the waves. What am I, Bugs Bunny? Silly Wabbit, or not Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd. Silly Wabbit.